Hello and welcome to our live stream. This is Pastor Sam. Today is Friday, August the 8th, 2025, and we're going to talk about how to fill out a beneficiary form on your life insurance policy so that you would properly designate people that you would want to receive the money after you pass away. This is an educational live stream. You requested nothing fancy, just mostly an audio to basically educate you while you're doing some running your errands, and you can get this information on the go. So you requested, and here is your educational piece on how to update, how to request and update and fill out your beneficiary form from your life insurance company. So, first of all, it's very, very important to update your beneficiary form every 5 years or so. People die, people pass away, people fall out of favor. Yes, that is an actual thing. Let's say you have multiple children or relatives that you originally wanted to leave some money to, but unfortunately, they did something you disapproved. So, you would want to remove them from your life insurance policy. Well, how do you do that? You simply contact your life insurance company. For example, MetLife. You call MetLife customer service, you ask for a beneficiary form. They will either mail it to you or they will ask you to go to the website, metlife.com, and download the PDF forms for you to fill it out, sign it, and fax it to them or mail it to them or scan it and take a picture with your phone and email it to them. That's in a nutshell, folks, how the process works. But it's very, very, very important to essentially update your beneficiary form because I know from my personal experience, people die, people fall out of favor. It happens. People fall out of favor. It happens every so many years, 5 years or so, and you have to update your wish essentially, and that's how the insurance company that you have will split up the money or the death benefit and send the checks to those individuals. And you could set, I believe that you could choose up to 10 or more individuals on that form. So basically you could choose your primary beneficiary, let's say, I don't know, your wife, husband, secondary beneficiary, your children, your your third level beneficiaries are perhaps your grandchildren or your other entities, for example, churches, mosques, Hindu temples, anything, or charitable organizations, for instance. And you can basically list their name, their email address, their phone number, and the insurance company will contact those entities to confirm the information and send them the check at the address that will be verified. So, in other words, if you don't know the address, all you have to do is list the name of the charity and their phone number or email address. That's all you have to do, and then the insurance company will do the rest. Because insurance companies usually, uh, when they process these death claims, they verify everything. They verify the entire basically everything that's associated with this policy, the beneficiaries, the insured, they verify all the information. So, folks, this is how you could have a stress-free life, knowing that upon your death, that your loved ones and your favorite charities will be taken care of. Even after you no longer on this earth, you've given your agape love to the favorite people that were with you on earth, or the favorite charities that you want to sort of receive your agape love. Agape is a biblical Greek word that simply means unconditional love of God. This is how the love of God is described because God gives us everything in this life. He gives us oxygen, the sunlight. Without sunlight, we would not, nothing could grow. Life is not possible. And because no matter how evil we are, no matter how unfair we are, we still receive the same sunlight as everybody else, whether we're kind or not kind. God's love is agape love, is unconditional love, something that we cannot comprehend. This is the highest form of divine benevolence and divine love. That's what the word agape means when translated from Greek. So that's why we named our ministry Agape Ministries, after this biblical Greek word. Agape ministries, meaning we take care of the orphans, we take care of the um, widows and the homeless, because these are the people that are typically forgotten by society. And we say we don't forget about them, but uh, most people are basically, they have their preconceived notions against people who ask for money on street corners. And that is very unfortunate, because we are essentially instructed in the Bible to give no matter what, without prejudging, because unbeknownst to us, these homeless people could be angels just testing our hearts to see if we are indeed, uh, faithful believers, or if we're just put on a show, essentially. Because it is written that without realizing, sometimes angels appear as visitors, and unbeknownst to us, to test our faith. And so today I'd like to just give you a quick, now that we've covered the how to choose a beneficiary form. By the way, if you happen to list us, Agape Ministries, or the Veritas Foundation on your list of beneficiaries, our email address is eternitytoday@hotmail.com. All lowercase together. Eternitytoday, two words, as written as one, at hotmail.com. And we appreciate your considering us to put on your beneficiary list. So let's talk about, let's end today's educational live stream with the passage of the scriptures from John 14:12. This is about doing greater things that Jesus said that he has done while he was with us. So the Bible tells us that if we have faith, we should be able to do the same things that Jesus has done. And in the words of Jesus himself, I'm going to simply read to you from the Bible, from John 14, chapter 12. Jesus says, "Most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will do also, and greater works than these he will do, because I go to my Father." And let's just dive into this and analyze this a little bit deeper on the most spiritual level. There are many Christians today that say this does not apply to us today, because it applied for people 2,000 years ago, perhaps even to the disciples. I don't believe so, because I essentially, I don't think it's a gift, but since an early age, since I was a little boy, I was able to heal people. So that is my gift. And I've kind of built upon it from the monks, recluse monks at the Mateora monasteries. There are many monasteries in Greece. Mateora is a Greek word which means suspended in the air. That's right. The reason why those monasteries are called Mateora monasteries is because they are located at extremely hard to reach places. They're located on upon monoliths. They're half a mile tall. That's right. They're above clouds most of the time in the morning. And they were built, God knows how, but they were built on top of these rocky formations. They're not per se mountains. They're literally monoliths. They look like Elon Musk's rockets, essentially, scattered across the valley in Greece. And there are, I believe, 23 of them, and about half of them are still operational. But these monks are able to walk on water, heal the sick, raise people from the dead. And they were my inspiration to follow in the path. Sometimes we just have to see how it's done. And this is what I've been practicing all my life. So if you have a disease, if you have an ailment, and you need healing, you want me to pray for you, know this: if you believe, if you have faith, you will be healed. So feel free to email us at eternitytoday@hotmail.com. State your name, your age, where you are, and what's your condition, your ailment that you want us to pray for. And we will pray for you. And if you have faith, you will be healed. I promise you that. You have to suspend your disbelief. Suspend your disbelief, meaning just have a little faith. And if you have that faith, you will be healed, or your loved one will be healed. So if anyone in your family has a condition, any ailment, it doesn't make any difference, folks. You just email us, state your name, where you live, your age, your conditions, your ailment, or the ailment of your loved one, and we will pray. If you request a telephone session, I would be happy to call you. Again, I would be happy to call you if that means that much, if the recovery of your loved one means a lot to you. I will be happy to call you. So just be sure to list your phone number and I will find the time to call you to say a prayer. And if you have faith, this is the key premise. If you have faith, you or your loved one will be healed, whoever is afflicted with an ailment, with illness. I'm strictly leaning on the Bible, John 14:12, and I've been doing this since I was 6 years old. It's a combination of it's a gift of God, and it's also again I'm building. I have been building upon the work of the monks at the Matera monasteries in Greece. Matera again is it means suspended in the air because they chose to live as recluse monks above clouds. It's really it's a magical place. It's truly. I mean, they don't watch the news, folks. I will just give you a quick rundown of why they can do it, you cannot, because you watch the news. You're marinating within devilish satanic trash, meaning trash as in the filth that is being poured through television, through social media. And those monks, they live in seclusion, meaning away from the world. They don't watch the news, they don't have the radio, they don't know what internet is. Maybe they have known it, but when they became monks, they completely disconnected from the world. They live on water and bread and prayer, nothing else. And many of them only live on water, and many of them don't even drink water, and they're fine. They look very healthy. Their skin color is very healthy. They do these exercises in the morning up on top of their little rocky formations that are very very narrow. It's not much space where they live, but it's a very uh, you might say comfortable living for them, but their only desires to get closer to God, to get closer to the frequency of God. And they live on that frequency of God. This is our core mission, folks. If you want miracles in your life, if you want to see healing, if you want to see your loved ones recover, even after they pass away, all you have to do is believe. And you have to be on that frequency of God. But you cannot be on the frequency of God if you watch the news. You see, I try not to watch the news at all. I try to catch the weather. But even during that, me trying to catch that weather at that appointed time, I sometimes catch the filth, and it's always filth. It's somebody got killed, somebody got raped, somebody got some kind of incestual relationship that somebody. It's always filth. And don't ask me why they do it. They want the ratings, they want the rankings, they want to be pop. But that's the opposite of what God wants us to do. God wants us to have a clear mind, pure mind, live on His frequency. Frequency is the modern scientific word of meaning, being on His radio frequency, meaning like a radio station tuned in, like a radio set, like a radio in your car tuned into a radio station. God is the radio station. We should be the radio receivers. But unfortunately, we're not tuned in, or we're not fine tuned into His station. That's the problem. That's why we don't see the miracles of God today. That's why we make so many mistakes, folks. What is life truly? I'll give you an example. What is life like living on the frequency of God? Let's say if you're a monk at the Matera monastery, or if you're in America, let's say, but you're on the frequency of God. You don't watch the news. You don't even look at any of that filth. Not at all. You don't obviously. I mean, I don't even have to say this, but folks, come on. You don't even touch alcohol. You don't touch Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola. That's all poison. Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola are most toxic, satanic products. They sell poison that your children get autism from. They get allergies from. They get mental retardation from. They die prematurely. Pancreas fails. Kidneys fail. Everything fails. It's all based on some chemical formula that they've been adding to cigarettes for many, many years. And remember the $206 billion settlement that Philip Morris and other four companies had to pay in, I believe it was in the year 2000 or 1998, after poisoning for over 100 years so many people. Why do they add those chemicals? Because they don't want you to quit drinking that filth. They don't want you to quit smoking that filth. and you're addicted to it. You cannot quit. It's a biochemical dependency upon the tobacco products like cigarettes or cigars or beer or vodka or whiskey or gin or cognac or you name it. I mean, you name it, they add something to it. There was a huge scandal in, I want to say about 10 years ago, when a huge, large European brewery bought the American American legendary uh, beer producer, and it was a hostile takeover. The St. Louis-based company refused to sell, but the European giant said, "If you don't sell, if you don't acquiesce, give in, and become part of our European giant, we're going to release to the world how you've been poisoning your customers all this time, all these years. You've been adding chemicals so that at the bars, they'll be sitting and being loud and obnoxious, and that's considered, quote unquote, I'm using air quotation marks, social. Folks, I got news for you. It's not being social. I'm using quotation marks. It's being addicted to that product that they've been brewing for over 100 years. So finally, the company acquiesced reluctantly after so many years of legal battle. And that way it was hush hush, kept a hush hush under wraps, meaning in secret, that the company has been poisoning their customers. And that's what the tobacco companies are doing. That's what the honey industry, $350 billion a year industry, folks, all satanic, all comes from China. You cannot touch any type of honey today, folks. You cannot touch, even if it says really raw honey from Baltimore, Maryland, you cannot touch it. You cannot touch it because mathematically it doesn't make any sense. It takes something like 200 bees, 5 years to produce 1 pound of honey. And yet you see those 1 pound jars selling at every organic store across America for $16 a jar. How do I know all these details? Because I didn't know. I was buying that honey myself, and then I realized it was probably all synthetic honey from China, because mathematically there's not enough honeybees to produce that much honey for all 350 million Americans. To have these honey shelves filled with organic honey at every store in America, organic or not organic, at every store. Mathematically, folks will need about 17 planets like ours with that many more bees or honeybees to produce that much honey for just the American consumers. But we have 8 billion people. So in other words, mathematically, this is synthetically produced honey. Watch the Canadian investigative journalists on YouTube, and you'll be floored. They're the bravest journalists I've ever watched, because they went into the behind the scenes and they filmed um, all that the black market operation of the Chinese. $350 billion a year illegal industry that cannot be really stopped. Why? Because they keep changing the formula, the chemical formula, the synthetic honey formula, to fool the authorities. And unfortunately, in the United States, there's only one lab in the state of Virginia that's testing it, because it's the most sophisticated lab, and they can easily be fooled. In fact, they're saying they're barely able to catch the synthetic formula that comes from China. That's how good those Chinese chemists are. It's at the cutting edge of technology, folks. So when you eat anything, it's already got that fake honey in it, because it's cheap, dirt cheap. There is no real honey unless you know the person that has their own beehives, their own honeybees. Yes, you can buy it from those people, but if you don't know where it comes from, don't buy it. It's my recommendation. And the same goes for anything else we eat, folks. That's why we're not on the frequency of God. I'll just add one last thing about fish diet, and then we're going to say a prayer, and I will again tell you, if you want us to pray for you or your loved ones, just send us an email at eternitytoday@hotmail.com, and we'll say a prayer. Or if you want us to call you, list your phone number, and I'll be happy to call you. So together on the phone, we'll say a prayer, and you or your loved one, and your loved one or your loved one will be healed. So the fish diet, you might say, salmon diet, organic wild caught salmon. Well, there's no such thing anymore, folks. We have a friend of our family that almost died about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. He lives in Florida, and he gotten on this healthy, organic, wild caught salmon diet. He ate nothing but salads and salmon. You might say, well, that's great. Well, he almost died. And when the toxicology report came back, they found over 400% of allowed levels of heavy metals in his body. Over 400%. He lives in Florida, and he was eating nothing but organic salads and wild caught salmon. So that means that confirms that you cannot even buy this salmon and eat it because it's toxic, full of mercury and other heavy metals. When I learned that that's the case, all of our fish products are organically raised in farm. Salmon is usually farm raised, and they have two tails, 15 fins, and two heads. If you saw the pictures of how quickly they grow, how oversized they become, see when they put it on the plate at a restaurant, you don't notice how deformed it was. It has two heads, weird teeth, and crooked face. It's mutation. It's mutated. So half of that salmon is, well, most of that salmon is farm grown with organic, genetically, synthetically created, basically DNA material. It grows fast, but it has deformed face, teeth, and fins. And then you eat it, and then you have your toxicology report, and you die. And toxicology report shows it's abnormal amounts of heavy metals in your body. You see mercury, and the list goes on and on. So that's why the only thing that I would recommend, this is what I do and our family does, and all of us here at our congregation, we eat organic salads and nuts. That's it. And even at that, we're at great risk because we don't even know where that came from, more or less. I mean, I'm talking about nuts, like mixed nuts, almonds and Brazil nuts, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, it's it's really that bad. And we live in the end times, folks. Look at the weather. Look at Mount Etna. Look at other um, earthquakes on Kamchatka in Russia. Look at this 8.8 earthquake in Kamchatka in in the far east of Russia near Japan. 8.8 Richter scale. That's if it was any closer to the surface, there would be nothing left of that region. But did have some tsunami waves. But the point is, all of this is indicative that basically Mother Earth is tired of our experimenting and us being so selfish. We are as a species, we're the least concerned about. We're not on the frequency of God, and then we'll see the end results: floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, wars. Not rumors about wars, but look what's going on in the world, folks. The war in Ukraine. I mean, the war in Gaza, the war in Iran, the bombings of Iran. Satan, 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 Satan is everywhere. Satan's just in the minds and hearts of every human being on earth, whether it's in the White House or Greek, it means suspended in the air because those monasteries are perched high above. They're not on the ground. You have to really, they have special ropes to climb, half a mile up. It's very high up above the clouds sometimes in the morning. So we have to be separate from the world, folks. We have to be in order to be on the frequency of God, not in order not to be deceived by Satan, by his deceptive schemes. He's always scheming. His demons are always scheming. Many people even today have tattoos. Well, look at what I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's the first invitation sign to the demonic world. Our bodies are vessels, holy vessels for the Holy Spirit. We cannot. It's sacrilegious to put a tattoo on your holy vessel that holds the Holy Spirit. I mean, what are you thinking, folks? If you're a Christian or a believer, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Hindu, I mean, you cannot have a tattoo. What for? I mean, a tattoo, you see, I can go on and on and on, but it's a very, 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 very serious step towards inviting the demonic force, because you have to understand, when you put a tetragraph, a symbol on your body, it's not just a tetragraph, it's not just some symbol. In the spiritual world, it's a gateway to this world. Everything we do, everything we say could be represented with certain symbols. So if symbols, I don't want to get off the tangent, but they're very powerful. and you cannot put them on your body. Whatever God decided to put on your body, if you have a birthmark, which is normally really a blood clot, if you know the truth. It's not really anything special. It's just a blood clot. You can do your investigative work and you can get rid of it sometimes. But whatever you have in your body, we come into this world, folks, without anything. We should leave the same way, meaning without any extra landscapes on our body, without any extra holes in our body, without missing hopefully without missing our limbs or parts of our body. Circumcision is evil. It's done by evil people. If God wants us to be whole, why would he ask for that important organ? Why not do it to women too? Why not do circumcision on clitorises too? It's evil. It's very, very evil. It's from the evil one. You see, the world is so evil. It's just unbelievable. It's the demons of darkness try to appear as the angels of light, and they deceive many. We are in the very end of times. Doesn't get any more in. I mean, well, as soon as they introduce the digital dollar, this is it. At that point, the book of Revelation says we will not be able to buy or sell or travel here or there without that mark of the beast, which will be this technological device that would allow us to be scanned to pay with that RFID card or RFID device, But the tracking will be absolute, meaning they could track all of our transactions then. If the digital currency of your country where you live in, here in the States, it would be the digital dollar. It would be very similar to Bitcoin, except the cash will be made illegal. Cash will be annulled. No more cash, just the digital dollar, which means you have to use it, and they could track everything you do. It will be like, when I say they, you know who they is, I hope. It's the police state, digital prison at that point. Goodbye, all of our freedoms. We no longer have our freedoms, but it's more or less like a resemblance of some of our remnants of our freedom remain. That's the story, folks. This is how serious the situation is, and I'll be happy to give you more updates weekly with some useful financial tips, like how to fill out a beneficiary form, how to update it, and how to survive in this new world of craziness that we live in, where demons are everywhere. Now, let me give you another tip. If you're a husband, you have a wife, uh, demons come through your wife. If you're a wife, you have a husband, sometimes demons come through your husband. You just have to test the spirits. You have to have a discerning spirit. Unfortunately, most people in the West do not have it. They drink Coca-Cola, they eat processed food. Their mind is in the gutter. Their mind is no different than a dog or a cat walking down the street. No different. An animal versus a human being. That's how far they have fallen. So in order to be spiritual, in order to develop this discerning spirit, you have to be fasting. You have to be on the salads, not because you have to be this vegetarian, but because everything else has been poisoned. So the minute you eat that poison, you become poisoned. So in the minute you eat that synthetic honey from China, you become not yourself. Your system gets off balance. And then you cannot think straight. How could you reach God if you cannot even process where you are in this three-dimensional world? Not possible. And that's why I decided to give you this weekly, simple, motivational live stream podcast, if you will, to give you some direction, to give you some advice, to give you some reference point, some vector where to look forward to. The only thing we have to look forward to is the Holy Spirit, is to get the gift of the Holy Spirit. And if you are ill, send us an email. We'll pray for you. You will be healed if you have faith. Because if you have faith, as little as a mustard seed, you should be able to say to this mountain, go here and it will obey you. Remember what Jesus said? And indeed, Saint Simon did this in Egypt, in Cairo. He moved Mount Mokattam. If you look it up, Mount Mokattam in Cairo, capital city of Egypt, was moved by Saint Simon the Tanner. He was able to have that kind of a childlike faith. By the way, we have to have childlike faith. That's why Jesus always said that unless we become like these little ones, we will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. We have to become like children. not just to heal ourselves or our brothers and sisters, but to this is a proper place, folks. We're not meant to be this wheeling, dealing business people. No, 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 no. We were meant originally to be like little children, but we were turned into these cunning, calculating, opportunistic, wheeling, dealing kind of hustlers, if you will. I'm using all the sort of worldly terms to give you paint you a picture. No, no, no. We were meant to be, my God, as little children, and we turned into these horrible satanic beings, guided by Satan himself through his army of demons. They come to you and they just fool you at every corner. This FOMO thing, fear of missing out, is unbelievable. Everybody's sort of trying to invest. Give me this, give me that. I don't want to miss out on this. That's the spirit of Beelzebub. That's the spirit of Satan. That's the spirit of Iblis. You see, in our Christian tradition, we have Lucifer, which is called Satan. Before his fall, he was called Lucifer, which is, when translated from Latin, means the morning star. The most beautiful, beautiful being, the smartest, the wisest, the most beautiful morning star. In the Quran, the same similar character called Iblis. Iblis is the biblical Lucifer, or the equivalent of that. And when Iblis refused to worship the creation of God, the first man, because Iblis was made out of fire and the man was made out of clay. Very similar, sort of a biblical reference to how, well, I mean, the Lucifer became Satan when he wanted to get high above the clouds of glory of God. I shall rise above the clouds. It's pride, pride. That's why we need to be meek, humble, and that's it. This is the number one rule for those monks up above. They won't. They will see those monks cannot survive unless they're humble, unless they're in the frequency of God. They're completely disconnected from the world. They rely on water, on rainwater, because there is no water. They can go on and on for months without water. And it's just like in the Vedic traditions, if you follow Bhagavad Gita, it's very, very similar. 7,500 years old. Everything that's written in the Bible has been written in the Vedic tradition, word for word. Everything that Jesus has said has been recorded in the Vedic tradition if you read it carefully, word for word, 7,000 years before Jesus has said it on this planet. And amongst the many, many yogis in the Vedic tradition, they don't drink, they don't sleep, they don't go to the bathroom, they just meditate on the sun. They just meditate, say their prayers, and they absorb the energy of the sun. That's all we need, is the sun energy. And that's what those monks do. So it does after a certain point, it's no longer the division, Christian or Hindu, or you get to that level of godly frequency, and then you don't need anything. You don't need any food. You don't need any sleep. You can walk on water. You can heal the sick. You don't go to the bathroom. All those functions cease to manifest themselves. You don't know. The digestion turns off because we're spiritual beings. It's a transformation, metamorphosis, if you will. And that's what God wants us to be. That's what all the apostles were talking about, the renewing of our minds. It's their primitive way of saying we have to be Christ-like. Primitive way, because people don't get it. They were fishermen. They only knew 200 words, folks. They were fishermen. Very, very limited in their comprehension. And Jesus managed to use 200 words to just beautifully, beautifully paint a picture of the kingdom of God. This is just absolute masterpiece. I'm just speechless. But when I read the beauty of the structure of the language, which is simple, and he only used approximately 200 words. Jesus used 200 words to describe the kingdom of heaven and the mysteries of heaven, because those fishermen didn't know any better. They were only concerned about sex, food, and not paying taxes to the Romans. That's it. It's kind of similar to what we have today, right? Well, we're a bit more sophisticated today, aren't we now? Aren't we? We're just a bit more sophisticated, fine. And we're a bit more tempted, quite a bit more tempted by Satan through his army of devils. So, in closing, folks, what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you to listen to this message over and over and over and over and over again, because the human brain cannot retain any information very well. The human brain, average human brain, retains only about 1% of what it hears. So, from this beautiful message I'm sharing with you from my heart, that comes from the heart of God, from the Holy Spirit, it would be very sad that if you only gotten maybe 1%. So by listening to it over and over and over and over again, nonstop, as your mantra, my goodness, folks, mantra, don't confuse. It simply means meditation, communion with God. It doesn't mean anything bad. As your mantra, meaning a repetitive prayer, like the Jesus prayer in the Orthodox community. Those monks in Greece, they're Orthodox monks. It's the kind of the first, most down to earth community that still communicates with God. But the Western Protestant community is disconnected from God because they've been deceived by demons with wealth and wisdom and technology, where the Orthodox don't have any of that. They don't have any wealth, they don't have any technology. They just live up on those pillars, monolithic structures, half a mile up high above the clouds. They don't have any rain. I mean, whenever they get rain, they drink. Otherwise, they don't need anything. You see how simple it is, life for them? It's like those yogis from 7,000 years ago. They didn't eat, they didn't sleep. All the whereas they're spending their time just like those monastic heroes, the monks in Greece, on the prayer and meditation, nothing else. And by the way, when you get on the frequency of God, this is from my personal experience. I'll tell you just one last episode. You could do it in your house, in your condo, in your apartment. You just have to shut yourself off from the world for about a week. On the third day, I'm saying completely for everyone. You just send them an email and say, I'm just vacationing. And stay in touch with them by email. Just let them know you're well, but you can't talk. Just turn off your phone, turn off everything for a week. Go on the Pustinia experience. There's a wonderful woman that set up a Pustinia ministry in Canada. She came to Canada in, I believe, 1920, Anno Domini. Anno Domini is a Latin term for in the year of our Lord. Her name is Catherine de Hook. Catherine, she was an amazing woman. So she set up this ministry in Canada to invite people to have a retreat, a biblical retreat, where they would come for a week or 40 days like Christ did. They would have nothing but prayer and water and Bible studies in isolation. They keep an eye on you, but nobody talks. You take a vow of silence. That's what you need to do if you really want to meet God. That's what I've done many times. That's what those monks are in that state of silence. Because when you shut up, God begins to talk. After a while, not immediately, not like you shut up and no, it takes many, 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 many days for you to hear the voice of God. In the spirit, I'm talking about. So, but once you get on this frequency of God, you completely reevaluate your life on this planet. You begin to understand everything is a lie. Everything is used for marketing. Everything is used to get the money out of you. Everything is just a fake, 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 satanic, 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 evil, 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 war, war, war for profit, 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 killing, 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 more, more, more people to get more, more, more money. Satan, Satan, Satan rules. That's where we are. And you'll get it, that picture as clear as day. Because right now you watch the news. If you watch the news, you don't get it. You're on the frequency of the world. You're on the frequency of the demons. Especially if you have a tattoo, you belong to the demons. You need to recant, meaning you need to ask for forgiveness and remove that stupid tattoo if you have it. That's an order from heaven. If you want to be considered a child of God, remove the tattoo with the laser procedure and just follow us. We'll point you in the right direction. So once you get on the frequency of God, folks, you realize how satanic this world is, how deceptive this world is, how every politician does a dog and pony show for 4 years with absolute conviction that he's basically being a cheap amateur actor in front of the cameras, whatever his interviews from the White House all the way to those senators. They do deals, folks, behind the scenes. $1 billion deals, $1 billion deals. You know, when they killed 3 million Iraqis during the fake war in Iraq, when General Powell at the United Nations Security Council meeting in 2003, when he was shaking that vial. Vial is a chemical set, glass container that he was given with some white or green powder. He said, "This is anthrax, or the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein had." It was a complete lie, fabrication. That was laundry detergent from the nearest Walmart or Target. I think they bought it at Target for $3 and they put it in those chemical sets and they said, "We got anthrax. We need to remove Saddam Hussein." But why did they do? Why did they kill 3 million Iraqis? They wanted money, greed, satanic drive. So they killed 3 million Iraqis. In the end, they got $1.5 trillion. It's a dialogue. Let me ask you this. Why do you think they did that? Because they can, because they lie, because they represent the devil. They're all satanic human beings. There is no democracy, folks. Forget about it. Are you kidding me? If you really think we live in a democracy, wake up. Wake the hell up, folks. I don't know how else to put it. There is no democracy. It's like you when you look at those people, I hope you could see the essence of Satan shining through their eyes, through their words. And if you are on the frequency of God, you'll be able to decipher their false language, their deception. So they killed 3 million Iraqis to get the money, blatantly. General Powell was showing that vial of laundry detergent, telling the world that this was the weapon of mass destruction created by secret Saddam Hussein laboratories, which was complete fabrication. It's now a true fact. The same with Vietnam. The war in Vietnam was a false flag operation. There was no attack on the American ship by the Vietnamese. It was all faked. Look at the documents, folks. Why did they do it? Because every time you engage the military industrial complex begins to make money. It's all satanic. So for the sake of money, they kill people. Same thing in Ukraine right now. Approximately 1.5 million Ukrainian soldiers have been killed. Not enough. They want to get it up. They have this formula. As soon as it gets up to about 3 million, they're going to start kind of negotiating on slowing things down. 3 million is the magic number. That's just where it will be. They project to make approximately $2 trillion for the American industrial military complex. And then they're going to stop the satanic war in Ukraine. They don't care about is it Ukraine, is it Russia, as long as it's kind of far away from the American soil, because we're isolated here, in North America. It's kind of hard to get to us. But we can send our troops on weapons to make money, money, more money, money. See, Satan just whispering into their ears, whispering new schemes. See how they do it. They employ these so-called political consultants, also known as lobbyists. They all work in Washington, D.C. for these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of firms. These are called lobby firms, political consultants. So they usually get these naive guys from the Midwest, and they pay them $25,000 a month to be their consultants. They encourage the business suits, drinking alcohol, maybe taking some drugs, having some women around. There are lots of prostitutes in Washington, D.C. It's the sin city. It's the darkest city on earth. That's just where Satan dwells. Yeah, Las Vegas is like kindergarten compared to it's not cannot be compared to Washington, D.C. How dark that is, as D.C. is. So they take these young boys from the Midwest who don't know. They're very naive. And they just tell them, just call, just think, use your brain. How can we get Putin to attack Ukraine? And through satanic infiltration, those people are working very hard every day. Literally, revolution in Kiev. Kiev is the capital city of Ukraine. All prefabricated, folks. This is all just satanic activity to get Ukraine into this conflict. It takes some time. You don't just sort of like magically do your strategy and all of a sudden there's the war. No. Putin was very, 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 very consistent at resisting this temptation to get into this war. For over 18 years, he said, "No, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to get involved." And they finally got him involved. See how Satan Christian man to attack Ukraine, their own people. It's to give you an analogy. It's kind of like here in the States, if the people of Kansas attacked all one genetic pool. Their names are the same. Their uniforms were the same. When the American journalist came to the airport at Kiev, American journalist or British journalist, he said, "We're expecting the Russian troops anytime to be here." That's in 2022. There should be here anytime. And he up with a microphone to take an interview. Supposedly, he thought it was a Ukrainian guy. He said, "Can you tell us what's the situation on the ground?" He thought it was a Ukrainian soldier. And the guy smiled with a big Russian smile, blue eyes, kind of reddish hair. He says, "We're already here." He says, "What do you mean? You're Russian?" He says, "Yes, but don't worry, we're nice." So you see, we're not going to harm you. Meaning, like, it shows how idiotic the situation is. Meaning, you cannot even tell them apart. They have the same uniform, the same kind of equipment, the same names, everything the same. They're related. Again, it's like people in Illinois would attack people of Missouri. I mean, what is going on, folks? And Satan did it. Now they have a massive military conflict there because Washington D.C. lobbyists had put it to place. That's how Satan operates, folks. Satanic, diabolical military industrial complex that wants more. You see, when there's peace, folks, I'll tell you a little secret. When there's peace, missiles are not flying, tanks are not needed, bullets are not needed to be produced, and those companies are losing money. So they want more war everywhere at some corner of the world. And they just hire more and more and more lobbyists to just incite more wars in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Nagorno-Karabakh, which is the independent region, kind of like Gaza, in between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. There are 83 armed military conflicts right now, similar to the one in Ukraine. But are you seeing them on your TV? No, it's not being televised. Look it up. Africa's on fire. Same identical situation like in Ukraine. Why? Even in Canada is not shown on American TV sets. Have you noticed if you live in America, in the United States of America, Canada is not on our news. I've never seen anything Canadian on my news, and I watch all the news pretty much. Like I said, I try to be informed without delving too much into it. So I try to catch the weather, and then sometimes I get the other news. Never, ever did I ever saw anything covering Canada. Why? Because the Queen of England, while she was still alive, she was 96 when she passed away, she made a deal through her political connections to make sure that Canada, which is the possession or the territory of the United Kingdom, it's their backyard. We'll have a bunch of slaves. Remember, they still have the Royal Navy, they have the Royal Mountain Troops, and the Queen of England is still at all Canadian dollars. So it's still their territory. But the Queen of England used to go to Canada all the time, twice a year sometimes. She never set foot in the United States, ever, because she doesn't want this rebellious spirit to be. She doesn't want the dumb, stupid Americans to learn that the Canadians are still enslaved by the satanic system from London, and for us to give them the freedom to break away, just like the 13 colonies broke away from England. She doesn't want the establishment in London. They don't want us to show how it's done, to create another revolution in Canada. That's why we're limited. There is no news about Canada in the United States of America in all 50 US states. None. It's total vacuum. Total vacuum. Complete and total vacuum. How could this be, folks? This is how Satan operates. What they don't want you to know, they don't show on your TV screens. But what they do want you to see, violence, sex, incestual relationship, devil worship, they show it on your TV in abundance, in great abundance. Do you see how the devil works? The devil is really quite clever. No news about Canada, but look about the mass shootings. I mean, on every channel, local or national news channel, I mean, you just turn it on, there's a mass shooting or just stabbing or some kind of, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're showing even people that are just enjoying their summer day on their patio, on their porch, and somebody walks by or drives by and throws a Molotov cocktail on them, like sets them on fire. That's what they start showing. That's like the latest entertainment in America. people throwing Molotov cocktail, bottles on other people who are just sunbathing on their porches, on their verandas. It's unbelievable, and they want us to be in this sort of um, on this frequency. Now, why do you think that is, folks? If we were like those monks in Greece, focused on the frequency of God, we would not be concerned about this devilish world, folks. But we live in this satanic reality. I just gave you 0.000000001% of the totality of the satanic reality we live in. The wars, who's behind them, how it's done, how even Vladimir Putin succumbed to this temptation to respond. It's kind of like this. If you're a man and you're walking with your wife down the boardwalk, let's say on a beach somewhere, and some thugs, street gangsters, some hooligans, come up to you and they provoke you verbally. And then they begin to kind of insult your wife in front of you. You got to do something at some point, right? Do you see how Satan works? Like that's the tactics that the Satan uses here with the war in Ukraine. You see, I'm going to paint this picture so you get a better idea. So, and they begin to physically assault your wife now on the boardwalk while you're walking with your wife on the boardwalk by the beach. And then that's where you have to get involved. That's just why Vladimir Putin had to get involved, because in the Donetsk region, they started to bomb or shell, I should say. They use bombs, they use shell. I mean, they use the artillery and Soviet missiles to kill ordinary ethnic Russians in Donetsk and Lugansk region of Ukraine, which is the eastern Ukraine, not western Ukraine, but eastern Ukraine. By the hundreds they're being killed, slaughtered by the Ukrainian army. That's how Satan operates. This is how Satan sends the hooligans on the street to assault your wife, first verbally and then physically. And then that's where you get involved into a fist fight to protect the honor of your wife. That's what Vladimir Putin did. He protected the honor of sort of his wife, the Russian people that happen to live on the kind of the opposite side of the border in the Lugansk and Donetsk region of Ukraine, which is the eastern part of Ukraine. 85% are all ethnic Russians, all being slaughtered. Women, children, and elderly, killed by the Ukrainian Soviet missiles. Tochka K or Tochka U or something like that. That's the name of that missile. Very famous, small, little portable Soviet class, not very accurate missile. They just launch it and just go. It wreaks havoc in residential neighborhoods. Tochka M, I think is what it's called, if I remember correctly. Tochka for short means a point, a period. Supposedly it means it's accurate, but it's actually the opposite. Not very accurate, but it's very devastating. And it's very cheap. It's something, I mean, I don't know what. It's cheap, and that's what they've been using. By the hundreds that were killing those ethnic Russians. And so Putin got involved, finally, in 2022, February 24th, because he couldn't take it anymore, this onslaught of his people, ethnic Russians. That's how it works, folks. This is, these satanic lobbyists in Washington, D.C. line things up just right. At the right time, they've attacked the wife that you're walking with on the boardwalk. That's a metaphor, right? You walk with your wife. At some point, you got to protect your wife from these thugs, gangsters on the street that begin to move from verbal attack to physical assault. If you're a man, you're going to protect your wife, right? That's what Putin did. That's how every war starts. I just painted you a picture of how it's done, and they're making money fist over hand over fist. When you look at how much they're making money, every Friday there's a report comes out from the Department of Defense, and I've looked at their documents, PDF files. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contractors getting $100 million, $50 million. The big ones get $2 billion in funding, in material. Material is the English word of French origin, which means the weapons. The weapons, folks. The weapons are some kind of a contractual things that they signed up for to provide for the war in Ukraine. Every week, every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the report comes out that shows hundreds and hundreds of contractors. The large ones get billions of dollars. The small ones get $50 million, $20 million, $100 million contracts issued to them, meaning somebody's getting a lot of money. Somebody, I mean, those people who have traded their soul for it's blood money, and they're getting the money. Yes, they're getting it in this reality, but as soon as the physical hearts will stop beating, folks, they're going to be in hell. As Jesus said, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And what is hell? Using scientific language, because we should be using scientific language today, it's getting to the center of our galaxy. I mean, of our, right, Milky Way galaxy. There's a black hole. And at the center of a black hole, using scientific language, even the light cannot escape. And so our souls, which are made out of subtle matter, this is the most scientific way to describe our souls, will be contracting and expanding 1,000,000,000 times per second. And that's the pain that they'll be feeling in hell or at the center of our galaxy, entrapped in a black hole forever and ever, for all eternity. That's what Jesus described as there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's how those folks used to talk back then, 2,000 years ago, in the most uneducated part of Galilee. That was described as, today we would say, indescribable pain. That's what Jesus would say today. It's just unbelievable pain, using modern language, at the center of a Milky Way galaxy, entrapped inside a black hole that contracts all matter to its core, size of an orange or an apple. So imagine it contains the worlds, constellations, planets, stars, shrunk to the size of an apple. Nothing could escape. That's how painful it will be for all souls who will be also trapped there at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. That's the scientific explanation of what hell might look like. And all those people who are making money hand over fist today by supplying, by being involved in that war in Ukraine, they're going to pay. They're going to pay, folks. When they will be departing this world, they'll be up for a surprise. And I don't want you to be in that category of people or souls. So that's why we must focus to try to be on the frequency of God, to separate ourselves from this world, because we're in this world, but we're not of this world. And that's why I decided to use John 14:12 today as a pivotal as a foundation for a podcast, for a educational sermon today, is to tell you that if we believe, we shall do the same things that Jesus did, even greater things, meaning all those miracles. He walked on water, he healed the sick, he cast out demons, and he raised people from the dead. We should be able to do the same thing, but we don't. Why? The answer is very simple, folks. It's because we're not on the frequency of God, and we're going to fix that. You could go again instead of going to live on a monolith high above clouds at Greece, to Matera, which means suspended in the air. It's a beautiful place, but not everyone could do it. It's just only a few dozen people in the world would be fortunate enough to be able to do that. And it's such an honor to do that, to be even allowed to go there, to be even chosen, to be even recommended. I mean, it's like a lot is involved to be up on to be able to be hoisted up there, to live there, and for you to be able to survive. There is no coming down. You understand? And by the way, there are no families, just monks in complete isolation and prayer. They're completely dedicating themselves to God, and because of their prayers, we're still alive. They're praying for us. They pray for the world. That's their only prayer, and they're in constant communion with God. And the only thing is, oh dear Lord, forgive those on earth. Remember, they're up high up above. They're about half a mile up above, so that's why they refer to us here. Oh dear Lord, forgive those who are down below, for they know not what to do. It's the similar prayer that Jesus Christ had prayed on the cross when he was being crucified by those greedy Jews. Greedy satanic Jews have crucified him. They want more money. Remember, they want more wars. They want more weapons to be used in every part of the world. And those monks are praying, please forgive them, Lord, for they know not what to do. And because of the prayers, we're still alive. Because they're so close to God, they're in the realm of, they are in the angelic realm. They are in the angelic realm. from what I could share with you, they see the angels, they see the demons, and they're being protected by very powerful angels. Because at that level, it's they see the entire battlefield, spiritual battlefield between the forces of evil and good, between the forces of God and the forces of Satan. And because of their prayers, we're still alive. We're sustained by the grace of God. If it wasn't for them, God has destroyed this world many, many times. By the way, if you think it was only once there was a great flood, you're mistaken. Because when you look at historical records, there were many, 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 many floods before this latest one that we kind of sort of quote unquote, I'm using air quotation marks, know of. This Noah flood, there were many others. So God just basically couldn't handle it. I mean, the people were so evil that even God had to destroy the entire creation over and over and over and over again. And so finally, he just destroyed it for the last time. And he said, no more. I'll just keep my spirit with them, because if I don't, these people will turn into animals again. Yeah. And so, yeah, you have to understand. I'll just try to paint a psychological profile of Noah, who he was. He was the kindest man on earth. It was not just like this sort of a righteous. Just roll with me for a second. Just suspend your disbelief. Noah was uh, preserved by God and His angels, first and foremost because he was a very, very kind man. He loved animals. He could communicate telepathically. He was able to heal anyone. Angels were all around him at all times because he was so precious to God. And you would be too if you would be at a frequency of God. But he was born that way. He was very, very, very kind. Animals were following him everywhere he went, even long before the flood. Remember, he lived a long life, 900 years plus, right? So, but this is how the human DNA was not. It was adjusted to be 120 years, but prior to this adjustment, to this genetic engineering um, phase, they lived to be 800, 950 years, something like that. It was normal. And people acquired immense knowledge and wisdom, because if you live to be 1,000, you could acquire a lot of knowledge and skills. When I say skills, there were no, I don't want to get off the tangent, but he would acquire a lot of knowledge to be either kind and walk with God, or to be super evil and walk with the demonic realm. That's why it had to be cut off. The lifespan had to be limited, because people were leaning more towards the dark side instead of the the uh, the lineage of God, instead of being in the light. Instead of walking with God, people chose to walk with darkness. Remember, more money, more deaths, more Iraqis, more Ukrainians need to die for me to make more money. That's how they think. More money, $25,000 a month, not enough. I want 50. I want 1 million. I want 2 million. I want 1 billion. I want 500 billion. Tell this guy in the White House, he learned how to pull on those levers, and he doesn't know how to stop. He wants more tariffs, more tariffs. How about this? All world is mine. I am the Antichrist. Donald J. Trump from Germany is the Antichrist. Heil Hitler, Antichrist, Trump, Heil Hitler, Antichrist. This is the spirit of Trump. You just cannot stop at this point. It's no longer a human being. Inside of him screams and operates a satanic, diabolical being. Even during his first term, by the way, if you notice, right before he left, he just fired some missiles to kill some people in Syria, just to see what it felt like. He wanted to feel that power. He just gave an order, like he wanted to feel what is it like. So he summoned his, this lackeys, this military lackeys. A lackey is a slave, if you don't know this English word. He says, why don't you go fire those missiles, your very best, at those peaceful, innocent people in Syria? And they did. They said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lackeys, your slaves. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to fire all the missiles if you want. How many? How many do you want us to fire? And they fired however many. Trump said, I fired 20 of them. So they fired 20 missiles into Syria. And when I watched that in disbelief, I couldn't believe. It was a spectacle of satanic power, folks. That's how Satan operates. He killed innocent people right before he left office, on his way out during his first term in office, just to feel that power. like that, as if it wasn't enough for him, you know? So that's when you look at people like that, you realize the devil is real. And what he's doing today is unbelievable. Basically, he's in the hands of uh, the Jewish lobby from Israel that controls half of Washington, D.C. And those are like Satan incarnate. By the way, if you find this group, the Guardians of the City, these are the true Jewish believers. Natore Karta, that's what they call themselves. When you translate from Hebrew, Natore Karta into English, that would be the Guardians of the City. Just Google Natore Karta International. Natore Karta, or just type in, you know, the Guardians of the City, and you'll get them on YouTube. They're the bravest, smartest, the most precious children of God. These are the real Jews. Okay, these are the real Orthodox Jews who are against the war, against the state of Israel, because it's illegal. You cannot just steal the lands and occupy them, and then just say, "Oh, this is." See, basically, a bunch of criminals got together and they say, "Why don't we just create this new state, call it Israel, and then just occupy it? We have all of us just like we have like Jewish names, stuff like that, and we'll fool those stupid Christians." And that's what they did, folks. So the only voice of truth is this a small group of Jewish rabbis, Orthodox. They speak the truth. They're full of love, and they walk with God, and they speak the truth. And the group is called Nature Carta. Nature Carta. Look it up on YouTube. You have to. And all of them, like for example, there's Rabbi David Israel, but he spells his name Israel without the I, with a Y. He didn't want it to match the Israel that is used in the fake state of Israel, because that's a fake state created by criminals. Again, the same criminals, devilish sons of bitches that are absolutely like bloodthirsty. They've killed 57 innocent women and children in the Gaza Strip of Palestine. 57,000 people were killed for no reason at all. And the world is looking at it and not doing anything, because the world is in the hands of the evil one, you see? 57,000 civilians have been killed at this point, at the time of this recording, that I know of. Maybe it's already 60,000. I don't know. I've lost count after 45,000, honestly. I just saw the updated version on the news just last week, but or a month ago. But at 45,000, I gave up. I could not watch this anymore. Just imagine if a woman gets killed on a highway in America, we all kind of, oh, that's a terrible accident. But imagine 57,000 women in the Gaza Strip. If their corpses were to pile up, that would be like a 40-story skyscraper. So the Israeli army has killed 40,000, or 57,000 at this point. It was 45,000 about several months ago. 6 months ago or so, roughly 45,000. Today they're at 57,000 innocent lives. That would be women, children, and the elderly. No man left. There's just teenagers, women, children, and the elderly. Now imagine a pile full of corpses, 57,000. How is that not a satanic site for what they represent? The guy is wanted. Netanyahu, there's Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted in a criminal court. He stole $6 billion here, $6 billion there, $20 billion here. He's a billionaire, but a criminal billionaire. And if the minute he stops, he's going to be put in handcuffs because he's a criminal, a satanic, diabolical incarnation of Satan. He wants more blood. He wants more blood just to keep the war going. That's how they think. They don't care. There's not even a shred of human nature in him, in all those people. They're all the same, folks. That's why we must be disconnected from this world. They're satanic human. They're not human. They're biomass on two legs. They're satanic biomass on two legs. So it's basically resembles like a human being, but it's not. On the inside, it's full of what Jesus said, full of corruption and dead men's bones. That's how Jesus described the Pharisees. Remember in the day, and I have the same anger, just like Jesus did when he got a whip and threw everybody out from the temple. I feel the same way, folks, when I talk to you like this emotionally, because I want you to know they're full of dead men's bone. They look all whited, without, but within, meaning inside of them, they're full of dead men's bones and all corruption. That's what Jesus called, meaning that they're all full of, that's what I just told you. They're satanic human beings. Benjamin Netanyahu is not human. He's satanic. Donald Trump is satanic human being. They're not normal. They want more power. They want to stay more power. More dead people. They want to just stay more and more and more. Adolf Hitler! Adolf Hitler! Heil Hitler! That's then going back to World War II. You see, similar spirit. And the only true Jewish people there, they're ones who are protesting against the state of Israel. Those are the Natorei Karta. Those are a small group of Jewish, wonderful, Orthodox people who speak the truth and they walk with God. And God is with them, protecting them. But they're very brave. They are appearing in front of the White House constantly. They demonstrate. They demonstrate in front of the United Nations in New York City and demonstrate always in Israel against the state of Israel for it to be dismantled because it's an illegal state, illegal occupation of the territories that were stolen in 1948 Anno Domini. Anno Domini means in the year of our Lord in Latin. And the reason why we should be saying that is because to emphasize that we're Christians, because we're so shy of our Christianity. Oh, in the year of 1948. But where is your AD? Where's your Anno Domini? Where is the year of our Lord? So that the world will know that we are Christians. We're coming. We're powerful because God is with us. We're not afraid of the gospel. The minute you get afraid, you will never get to the kingdom of God. Remember what Jesus said? And so this small group of wonderful Jewish rabbis, Natorei Karta International, they protest in front of the White House, in front of the United Nations, and in front of the, in Israel, at every corner, basically, at every street corner where they could gather. And they speak the truth. Because in 1948, Anno Domini, what happened was these crooks, the criminals, the satanic human beings, got together and they stole the lands from the Palestinian Arabs. They killed them. They lined up and they killed with a rifle. They killed 10,000 of them. And then when they actually ran out of bullets, they led 740,000 people on a march. They actually escorted them out of that territory. They have basically expelled almost 1 million Arabs from that area into neighboring countries. 740,000. It's called Nikba, which means the greatest catastrophe in Arabic. That's what they call it. The greatest catastrophe. Look it up. 740,000 were expelled from the area by these criminals who pretended to be this biblical, sort of like Israel connected, but they're not. They're all our atheists. They don't even believe in God. For example, the airport is named after one of the founders, David Ben-Gurion. David Ben-Gurion is an atheist. And do you know where he's from, what he used to do for a living? It's a dialogue, remember? I'll tell you what. David Ben-Gurion, the founder, one of the criminals who was there, he used to kill people for a living in Poland. He's originally from Poland. Growing up as a teenager, he would mug wealthy Polish merchants on the street. And after he would get their wallets, he would kill them so that they wouldn't testify against them. Meaning he wouldn't be brought into the police and wouldn't be, essentially apprehended by the eyewitnesses. So he would shoot them. So he was a murderer. He would kill people, mug people, and then he wanted to up the stakes, and he went into Israel, into Palestine. I'm sorry, there was no Israel. There's never an Israel. It's all a fake country, all fake state, just on paper, financed by the Rothschilds. That's right, the banking family of London. Rothschilds gave the money to some legal help to formulate this scam, how to steal those territories, you see. And so David Ben-Gurion, a murderer, that the only thing that he kind of looks like a little innocent grandpa. If you pull up his pictures, he looks like a grandpa. That's why he doesn't look the type that could kill someone. But he was a murderous, merciless, just a devil incarnate, like most satanic, evil human being on the face of the earth. Kind of like Donald Trump and this Benjamin Netanyahu, along the same lines, the same spirit. Insatiable appetite for more death, for more territories, for everything, more. Greedy hands. Heil Hitler! More territories. I want Soviet Union. He didn't get Soviet Union. And I got news for you. Benjamin Netanyahu very soon will also be killed, expelled and killed, because this cannot go on like this. Um, God cannot be mocked. If this evil person could single-handedly kill 57,000 innocent people, I believe that God will stop him. I believe that God will stop that war. It's not even a war. This is like a bloodbath. It's basically slaughter. It's a slaughterhouse for human beings. Look what happened to Hitler. And the same thing will happen to Benjamin Netanyahu for killing this innocent 57,000 innocent people. You understand? What he's doing is no different than Hitler. And so back to Neturei Karta. So David Ben-Gurion set up this fake state of Israel. He was an atheist, a murderer. He would mug people on the street, steal their wallets, kill them. He looks like an innocent grandpa. That's why he kind of gets by. Nobody can sort of by looking at him, you wouldn't be able to say. When you look at a picture, he doesn't look like a murderer. But people who knew him, yeah, he was just devil incarnate. But so they created this fake state, emotionally tied in with the Christian community around the world. They paid pastors in the Midwest $5,000 to say, yay, 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 go, 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 Israel, Iran, Iran, bad, 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 Israel, Israel, good, good, good. Like little guinea pigs, that get paid and they vote for Israel. And so that's how the lobby, Israeli Jewish lobby works in DC. So they created this fake state against the biblical laws, because according to the Neturei Karta, Jewish rabbis, this goes against every Torah commandment, because it will be done differently. It will not be done by man, but will be done by the Messiah, who they believe will come, which may correspond to our second coming, but will be their first coming. But anyway, the point is they're against it. They want it to be dismantled, because you cannot just steal the territories of Arabs, kill them. 10,000 were killed, and then when they ran out of bullets, they actually expelled 740,000 out of the area. They just tossed them out of the country by force. And they took their lands, and they kind of said, wow, the business is going well, they thought. And then there's this constant conflict between Arabs and the so-called criminal Israelites. They're not Jewish. They're atheists. You try to understand. David Ben-Gurion was atheist. He was laughing at these stupid Bible thumpers. That's in his mind how he viewed them. Bible thumpers are naive, evil, and they should be deceived. And so they created this new term. It's called Holocaust. This is a made-up word. It did not exist. And the reason why I created this new word, Holocaust, is to get the money from Germany, compensation money. And they got, how much do you think? It's a dialogue. How much do you think they got from Germany so far, folks? Well, they got $120 billion from the German government, because they were able to unfold this PR campaign, call it the Holocaust survivors, this and that, this and that, this and that. But if you listen to Dr. Finkelstein, who is a historian from New York City, he taught at the local college. Both of his mother and father went through so-called Holocaust, through World War II, and they were at one of those concentration camps. And according to Dr. Finkelstein, there is no such thing as everything that's been basically made into an industry, how to squeeze money, how to emotionally corner people so that they'll be sympathetic, cannot question it, and then you take money from them. That's what this Holocaust thing is all about. Because according to his parents, they were basically labor camp workers. They were like free laborers. They only got food and sleep. That's it. So it's like free labor. Why would you want to kill your own labor force? Where would you get the replacement of your labor? I mean, that's insane from a business perspective. And Germans are very, very practical. If you have, let's say, 500,000 free workers and they work very hard, you just give them some water and some bread, and you want to keep them alive. Why would you want to kill them? Why would you get the replacement of that qualified, competent labor force? You can't find it. It's World War II. Every laborer is very valuable. And to say that they will just burn in some oven, I mean, first of all, there are no ovens that are big enough to accommodate for all that. So the whole thing, according to Dr. Filkenstein, is a masterminded scam to get $126 billion from the German government in compensation. And they achieved it. They made up this word Holocaust, which never existed before. They created this word. It's a made up word, folks. And now you're like, oh, Holocaust, oh, mama. Ah. No, folks, no, it's a made up word. Like right now, I could make up a word like hoopchi moochi mookie. That's my new word for, let's say, the scams of the devil. So we're going to call it hoopchi moochi kuchi. That means like, wow, it's the scams of the devil. Now, if we tie it linguistically and support it with some PR campaign, it will be known around the world as the works of the devil. It's just an example. It's a silly example of they just came up this Holocaust and they tied it to the events of World War II. According to Dr. Finkelstein, just look him up. He taught at the Hunter College in New York City. His mother and father went through the so-called concentration camps, which they were not called concentration, they were called work camps. And they had racetracks on them. They had swimming pools so that those people who worked there could exercise and keep themselves in shape as much as they could so that they would last longer, they would work more, because they try to squeeze every utility out of every human being, out of every worker. They were not interested in killing them. They were interested in more production to be contributed by those workers, you see? That's according to Dr. Filkenstein. And he is against this Holocaust movement. He is against this propaganda. So we're dealing again with the angels of light and the angels of the devil. And if Dr. Filkenstein, a Jew, says that this is not true, who are you going to believe? The criminals like Benjamin Netanyahu, or a guy whose parents went through this World War II horrific experience and they're alive? I mean, they went through it and they didn't die, so they could tell this story. And he is a historian. And he is a Jew, I mean, of Hebrew descent. And he's a very honest and brave Jew. He went against the system. So they fired him. He went to teach at a different college. He taught history. They fired him there because he went against the grain, against the power structure. You understand, against this satanic power structure. But he is a very brave man, and I applaud him for it. It's a commendable thing to do. He is the most honorable man in my book. He's my hero. Dr. Finkelstein, Norman Finkelstein. Just looking up, Dr. Norman Finkelstein. In my book, he's a hero. If I ever get to meet him, I would shake his hand and just tell him how much I appreciate his honesty. I don't know if I could do that if I were him. Do you understand? To go against the system, that takes so much courage, folks. He went against the system. Like, you go against the system, you end up like Martin Luther King. You end up like JFK. You end up like, you know what I'm saying here. And he wasn't afraid of going against the system. He says that could kill him any time. That's Dr. Norman Finkelstein. He used to teach at Hunter College in New York City, and then he went to teach in Chicago and other colleges, and they fired him everywhere because that lobby is very powerful. And they're lying sons of bitches, basically, using my sort of a not-so-biblical terminology, but it's the truth. And he gets just as emotional as I am because there's so much filth, so much untruth, so much deception. And I'm trying to give it to you on a silver platter so you don't watch the news. You don't watch the garbage on your TV says. Nothing but propaganda, satanic propaganda, folks. So become disconnected from this propaganda. Cut the umbilical cord. Read the Bible. Believe, and it shall be given to you. Believe, and you can heal your relatives and friends. And if you need help, we're always here. Just write to us, eternitytoday@hotmail.com, and we'll pray for you, and you will be healed if you have that faith. If you don't, so anyway, at least I'm speaking out. I'm not like Dr. Finkelstein. He is traveling. Can you imagine traveling at universities around the world and speaking on this topic? How much risk he's taking upon his life. And thank God he's still alive. He knows he could be killed at any given point in time, just like JFK, just like Martin Luther King. The list is long. I'm just saying here. And he's still doing it. At least I'm speaking about it. I'm not sort of like publicly appearing and, leading a movement. That's not my role. My role is to simply bring you up to speed and for you to look him up on YouTube. He's got a million videos on YouTube. Dr. Norman Fickage died. And then please don't forget to look up Natore Karta. Those are amazing, amazing Jewish rabbis, especially Rabbi Israel. Look him up. He's just like Norman Finkelstein. Very brave. He's very, very to the point. He doesn't mince words, meaning he speaks the truth. And he calls a spade, meaning he says that the state of Israel is a bunch of satanic, um, devil-possessed little greedy egomaniacs that are fake Jews. They're not even Jewish, folks. They come from Yemen. They come from there's like 45 different ethnic groups. And I've met one at the mall here, at the shopping mall. They bring them to the United States to young people from Israel, and they make them sell these soap products. This sort of I forget what this kit was I bought for my wife. It's like a kit. There's like a filing things for the nails, and there's some soap, and there's some lotion. Seacrest that's what it's called. Seacrest, yeah, that's what Israeli-made thing. It's like a, what do you call it? Like a MLM business, if you will. It's like a person-to-person business. How they sort of personally sell it. They don't sell it in the stores. They sell them like kiosks in the mall across America. So they bring these young Israeli salespeople from Israel. And I got to know a bunch of them because they're pretty aggressive. Man, they're aggressive. And this woman, she looks to be kind of sort of African, but not quite African. Very swarthy skin. Swarthy, it means it's not white. It's very, how shall we put it, tanned. She's got this kind of uh, dark skin, basically, swarthy skin, dark eyes, dark brown eyes, and very, very dark hair. Very, very tingly kind of a hair, kind of like African hair, but it's long. It's not quite African. It's like Moroccan hair from Morocco, kind of like that. But I asked her, I noticed there's a burn mark on her, a permanent burn mark on her right palm of her hand, between the index finger and the thumb in the soft tissue, And I said, "Well, what is this?" She said, "That's the machine gun mark from when it gets hot, it burns the skin." I said, "You've been to the army?" I said, "Oh yeah, everybody goes to the army in Israel." I said, "What is your ethnicity? Like, what you look like? You're like what is your?" She said she's Yemenis, and then she told me we got to talk to each other. Basically, what they do is those satanic people in power in Israel. They basically invite those people from surrounding countries, from all of the surrounding countries in that region in the Middle East, and they give them the Israeli passport, like the gift. Oh, look, you finally could be called Israeli citizen. Congratulations, Heil Hitler! Worship your master, slave. Worship your master now. And so, the way they do this, folks, is they entice them to come serve in the army. It's like create these brainwashed killing machines. Whatever the state tells them, they do. They go kill. They say go kill those people in the Gaza Strip. They go kill the people. They killed just 57,000 people. You see, they're brainwashed killing machines. So this woman, I forget her name, but she's kind of a short, kind of like swarthy skin, which means like she's kind of a dark skin, not olive skin, but dark skin, but not black. She's not Negro, but she's like a mulatto, not mulatto. She's like from Morocco, if you could picture a person from Morocco. And most of the people kind of in the Middle East, they have these sort of like very peculiar features, like they have this swarthy skin, big noses, these bulgy eyes, and they have these curly hair, small curls. And so this woman, just to paint you a picture, they're not Israeli. I'm translating to what I'm about to say. The reason I described it, they bring those people in from the surrounding countries, something like 45 different ethnicities. Like there's Wazidis, Mahudis, Kushudis, Kahadis, Haifis, Houthis, Muthis, Kushis, Kasis, Kushis, Masis, Kushis, Kazis, Kuzis, names like that I cannot even remember. But some of them were the exact names from that region that I just quoted. But to give you an idea, and they strategically brainwash them. They come from poorest neighborhoods. I have nothing, dirt poor, Wahidis, Kushujis, Shuhuzis, Mahujis, Kaharis, Maharis, Kohodis, all swarthy, all got bulgy eyes, all are hungry for something better in life.
And they brainwash them. They say, we're going to give you this Israeli passport. We are the civilization in this Middle East. You come and worship us, the devils. And they say, yes, hi Hitler, we worship you now, commander. And they become brainwashed, and then they go kill their neighbors, the innocent women and children in the Gaza Strip. 2 million were displaced. 57,000 were killed. Corpses are still laying there, piled one upon another. Nobody's burying them. It's impossible to bury all 57,000 folks. And that's the satanic regime that will fall. Watch Dr. Norman Finkelstein. Watch the Nature Carta. That's the brilliant, wonderful, God-worshipping, God-fearing Jewish heroes of mine. They speak the truth. It's a small group of Jewish Orthodox rabbis. And they're quite separate from the rest Orthodox, because the other Orthodox rabbis, the other regular Orthodox rabbis, they kind of look the same, but they're going with the flow of the satanic state of Israel. Like they want money, they want greed. Oh, we don't want to go to the army, they say. But they pay us $2,000 every month. How convenient. Of course, we're going to support this Benjamin Netanyahu satanic regime. That's how the other Orthodox Jews view them. But this separate group, the Holy One of God, the Nature Carta, the Guardians of the City. What a beautiful name, the Guardians of the City. They carry the Spirit of God in them. But the rest are all devilish little offspring of the devil, because they support the murder, the killing, and the money. They want the $2,000. They don't want to go to the army. And as long as that's the balance that they get in life, they get the money, they don't go to the army. That's all they care for. And then they support the regime in Israel, the so-called Israel. It does not even exist. Those are Palestinian lands that were stolen from 10,000 murdered Palestinians in 1948 Anno Domini, and 740,000 expelled from the territory of Palestine, you see. And by the way, my wife had befriended a Muslim woman some years ago, and we invited them. She asked me if we could invite them to our house, and we got to know each other. You know, we should, as good neighbors. And did you know that was wonderful? There were a couple from Yugoslavia. They came as refugees to America, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful family. And we got to know them, and we went to their place. They came to our place, and actually, I've learned, it's such a humbling experience. There are many wonderful Muslim families. They believe in one God. We believe in one God. And we should be friendly neighbors. And he was praying to God. I was praying to God. And we were just sort of like learning from each other. Did you know that most Muslims are much more, their faith is much stronger than the Christian faith? They pray to God 5 times a day. They actually carry their faith. That carry out their faith. They actually show their faith. They actually materially follow their faith. Well, the Christians are so spoiled, so undisciplined, so deceived by the devil. Like, you cannot deceive a Muslim, a true Muslim. You cannot deceive. I mean, unless they like go to nightclubs, stuff like that. That's not a true Muslim to me. Like an average Muslim family is stronger when it comes to the attacks from the evil forces. They resist it better than the Christian family. You know, for example, women in the Muslim communities, they dress very humbly. They cover their face, and they only show their face only inside the house for the children and the husband, not because it's something bad, but because it's propriety. And it's written in the Bible. Remember, it says that women should cover their heads because of the angels. It's the same tradition in the Quran. It's propriety to use simple language, but it's a spiritual law. It's much more related to the angels. It's for the protected. It's for the family to be protected, for the woman to be protected, because the angels, they kind of look at the outside, and if the Christian women are wearing mini bikinis, micro bikinis, showing the breasts to the entire world, what sort of is that appropriate behavior? Is that propriety? Is that decorum? Is that Christian? Is that even human? Who taught him that? The devil. So now you compare Christian women laying topless or even naked on beaches in Europe and America, some American beaches have that kind of a occurrence practices versus the Muslim women who would never ever dare to do such a thing because as not to offend the people people who would be watching them. You see, but the Christian women have lost all propriety, all sense of propriety. There's not a word. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. The point is, you look at the results, and it seems like the Muslim families in general are they're much closer to God in the way they behave, in the way they practice their faith. And it shows because after he explained this to me, it's crystal clear. I'm for that. My wife said, don't even get any ideas. I didn't mean I was going to put the same kind of a restrictive clothing on my wife, but at least to introduce that you should cover your breasts a little bit more. You should, I mean, as a Western woman, I'm saying for Western women to cover their breasts a little bit more, not to show the entire figure a little bit more. To the world, I'm saying to the husband, yes, but not to the world. And that's what I've learned from this wonderful Muslim family that we were just visiting many years ago. Thanks to my wife, actually. She initiated this invitation and this friendship. If it wasn't for my wife, I would have never learned this, that the Muslim families are they're closer to God, much more closer than the Christian families. And by the way, this Muslim man had enormous faith, enormous faith. Example, he came as a simple worker to America. He worked at a muffler factory, but he believed, he said that God gave him a vision and he strongly believed in that vision. He was going to advance him in business, and he's going to go back to Yugoslavia. Today, it's called Bosnia and Herzegovina, but to me and to him, like it was a destroyed country by another satanic regime. The American pilots were murdering people in Yugoslavia for 78 days straight in 1998 or 1998 or 99, I believe. 78 days straight. They even killed everybody at the Chinese embassy in Belgrade, the capital city. In Belgrade, there were a lot of embassies, and the Chinese embassy, which is sovereign ground, you don't even, it's like declaration of war if you will destroy it, do something. But the American pilots were dropping 500-pound, 1,000, 3,000-pound bombs on the Chinese embassy and all the embassies. And they killed everybody. Everybody was instantly incinerated. So it was a declaration of war. Bill Clinton went there on his knees to ask not to escalate this further into a military conflict. But you don't just bomb embassies, and they did. They don't give a damn. That's why they do it. You see, it's satanic mentality. Me, money, Heil Hitler, me, more money, more weapons, kill more people. That's the mentality of the devil. That's the American mentality you see today of most people. And so going back to the breast, propriety of not showing your breast, instead of showing your breast, women, I'm referring to all the women, Christian women, right? Show more propriety. Cover up your shoulders, cover up your breasts. Yes, I'm talking to you. Yeah, to you. Especially if you, commune with the devils all the time. This is the first time maybe you're learning this. If you want to show your breasts, you lack the Spirit of God. You are the instrument of the devil to seduce the man, to cause him to sin. What do you call that? You're an instrument you're the tool of the devil, basically. And that's why in the Muslim community, it's taken care of. It's handled. Solid. Women would not, they can't. They don't, that's how it should be handled in the Christian community too. I strongly believe that. So they went back because they couldn't handle this sort of they had two small children, a boy and a girl, and they didn't want their children to be raised in this satanic school system where they were brainwashed with this homosexual propaganda and the multi-gender agenda, satanic agenda. So they finally took the children back to Yugoslavia, built a huge house, and lived happily ever after. Now, the story of his faith, how did he get all the money and the business that he strongly believed in? He told me he was going to get into the telecommunications business. He even kind of invited me to join him. I said, no, I'm sorry, but I don't believe in that. I mean, there's AT&T and there's Bell South. And unless you're one of those two companies, what can you do as a he said, no. There's a deregulation of the market in the United States. Anyway, he had the faith, he had the idea, he had the business idea. He got into the telecommunications business, and he started to make $5,000 a month and $10,000 a month. And then he quit his job at the factory. He ran his own operation. He grew his business, I believe, up to $30,000 a month or $50,000 a month in his business. And at that point, he was buying everything for cash. Within 6 months, folks, 6 months, God has blessed him so much that he bought almost $1 million house, and he invited us over. So, I mean, he went from a humble abode to $1 million house, and then he started buying everything for cash. Like he bought a brand new SUV for his wife. He bought a brand new SUV for himself, not to show off, because it's more practical. Like, you don't want to buy a used one to keep repairing it. That's what he used to have, a used car that he kept breaking down on him. He kept repairing his old car. So he did the smart thing. New house, new SUVs, and then he finally moved back to Yugoslavia. Bought a huge, enormous brick house, and they lived happily ever after. There you go. That's the end of story. That's faith. That's faith, applied faith of a person that's not even a Christian. All the Christians out there say, "Oh, I thought we're supposed to have faith." Folks, if you cannot handle your wives that seduce other men in your presence by showing off their breasts, what do you think? God is going to bless you? Are you out of your minds? Man, Christian, and I'm talking to you right now. This is a dialogue. If you don't know how to tell your wife, shut the hell up, woman. This is a man's conversation. It goes like this. Hierarchy, you should know this from the Bible. Man, God, man, woman, and then children, and then the animals, pets in the house. And if it's reverse, then it's topsy-turvy. Then you have this nonsense that we have in America today. The children don't respect their parents. Women don't respect their men. And men do not look up to God. The total success of the devilish world. That's why you see, if you look in the Garden of Eden, why did Satan come through the snake? And then he came to Eve instead of going straight to Adam, because Adam would have broken his head, figuratively or literally. It doesn't make any difference. Adam wouldn't have made that mistake. But Satan knew how to circumvent the system of God, the hierarchy of God. It would be like a double slap on the face of God, so to speak. I'm using a metaphor here. So Satan came through the lowest being, which is a serpent, an animal, to the lowest hierarchical family member, the wife. And then they broke the chain up, psychological manipulation, propaganda, satanic propaganda, and reverse psychology, and they made Adam commit a sin. That's how Satan made it even worse. Instead of like working really super hard on Adam, which would have been probably not very successful proposition, he would have failed. So he went the other way around. He decided to get the apple of his eye, his wife, Eve, or whatever the names was. It's debatable as what their names was. But the point is the first creation. And he went through an animal, a serpent, which is the lesser being, folks. Do you see how clever he is? And you really think that when you drink alcohol, you're really drinking alcohol to be social, or do you think you're drinking poison for your mind and for your soul, because it's you're causing your brethren to sin? You're causing your brethren to sin. Did you know that in the Muslim world, alcohol is not accepted? It's the number one evil. Well, number one is interest. That's right. Interest from a bank. In the Muslim world, they have interest-free banking system called riba-free loans, riba-free banks. Riba is the Arabic word for interest. So it's interest-free loans. So let's say if you want to buy a house, you go to a bank, to a Islamic bank, and they'll give you a loan. But instead of charging you interest, which is absolutely illegal under the Islamic law, absolutely illegal, because that's the worst sin. Like, it's slavery, it's usury. Like in the United States, usury considered anything over 25% interest. 25% interest considered usury. Usury is a term. It's a financial term. It is a colloquial term, which means like you're enslaving someone financially, meaning exorbitant interest rate. In America, it's considered 25% or higher would be usury. It means like kind of like, wow, you should be charging that much interest. How about those 300%, 700% payday loans? What do you call that? Is that not usury? But in Islam, all interest is considered usury. They view it, there's a beautiful, beautiful concept. So a bank would give you a mortgage. That's what it's kind of like to use the our American Western terms here. But what it is, it's a it's a community-based kind of an effort. So the first, they're going to check you out that you're an active, appropriate member of your community where you live. That everybody respects you as the leader of your household. You don't do anything bad. You don't smoke. You don't drink. You're a good, upstanding citizen of your community. And then they give you this mortgage using our terms here, American terms, and then they charge you a small active application fee. That's it. And you just simply pay it off as you can every month. And nobody's going to come and get your house. There is no such thing as foreclosure per se, you know? That's right. You don't pay any interest, folks. Like if you buy a $100,000 house in America, by the end of in 30 years, you'll end up paying $300,000 for that tiny little house or condominium. Under the Islamic law, not so, folks. Not so. And so my point, folks, I would like to emphasize everything, the world is big. We're deceived. And I'm here to do these weekly live stream, inspirational, educational, spiritual, and financial episodes to share with you the entire truth that we live in the toilet, basically, full of satanic propaganda, full of money-hungry, military-industrial complex motivated wars that are essentially incited or pre-planned many years in advance. They use very, very cunning psychology to entangle people like Vladimir Putin, which is very hard to do. The guy is a genius strategist. His strategy is flawless, and they got him entangled. It's unbelievable. I never thought in my ever that he would be entangled. He resisted for 18 long years, and they finally got him. So that means these satanic agents are fairly successful, fairly good. I mean, that's what they do. They got him involved. He never wanted to be involved. That's how they do it. So you never want to be involved in a fist fight, but then eventually you get to defend your wife's honor when the hoodlum, when the gangsters on the street, when the hooligans attack your wife physically. You have to defend your wife's honor, or else you'll be viewed as a coward if you run away and leave your wife to be assaulted and raped and left there to die on the boardwalk. You see, that's what Vladimir Putin did. That's the truth. But again, we live in a satanic world. Don't believe anything. Don't watch the news. Read the Bible. And my favorite verse is John 14:12, where everything is possible if you have faith. To get faith, you have to be on the frequency of God. To be on the frequency of God, you have to disconnect from this world. To be able to disconnect, you go on a 1 week kind of a sabbatical, 1 week vacation away from the world if you can. If you can't do it, if you have family, friends, and their phone will be ringing off, go to Canada. Go to this wonderful, beautiful community that Catherine DeHook set up in 1920, Anno Domini. She set it up in a remote place of Canada. It's called the Madonna House.org or .com. Just look it up. The Madonna House is a community for people like us, people like who are searching for God. It's called the Pustina experience, or the desert experience of the early church fathers. It's all based on the early church fathers' desire to get closer to God, following the Jesus 40-day desert experience. It's all based on that. But instead of being in a desert, you're in a comfy log house with a Bible and a candle and a total isolation, no phones allowed. But they'll keep an eye on you, make sure that you're alive, you're well, you're breathing, they keep an eye on you. Those are our Christian brothers and sisters there. They work there. They live there, they work there. They basically, you go there, you pay something like, I don't know, $50, something like that per week, and you stay there with them. In exchange, you might help them around their property. But the point is, you stay there in isolation to do your silent prayer, meditation, commitment for a week to God, or for 40 days, however way you want to structure it. And then you come back, and then you will be a renewed person. On the third day, you'll see your thoughts are not your thoughts that you thought were really your thoughts that were injected into your mind, into your subconscious from outside. On the seventh day, you realize that people that you used to feel like they were kind of, that you liked, you suddenly don't like them. People that were ugly to you, they were beautiful. I'm talking about people that were not so pretty physically. They became beautiful because those are usually the people that have most beautiful soul inside. You could see the soul of the human being at that point, after the seventh day. At least that was my experience. By the seventh day, you'll be able to see the soul of a human being, and as a as it actually happens, the irony of this thing, the most not so pretty physically people, human beings on earth, have the most beautiful hearts, and the usually so beautiful looking, physically looking human beings are very egotistical and very ugly on the inside. Their souls are very, um, the souls are not very giving, and they're very ugly compared to the pure souls. It's really the irony. Is like it's opposite of what you think. The whole world is the opposite of what it really is, and you'll get a clear picture of that when you go on a 7-day fast, a proper fast, not just no. Have to disconnect. Proper fast. Do it like they do in Matera, without going to Matera Monastery in Greece. Matera means suspended in the air. That's the Greek term. And you'll be able to experience agape love. Agape is the biblical term of Greek origin, which means, when translated into English, it means unconditional, divine, perfect love of God that surpasses all human understanding. We cannot fully comprehend what that is. It is just so amazing. You want to stay in it forever and ever and ever and ever. You never want to leave it. That's the beauty and joy. This is why they're still up there. They reach this. Well, I don't want to use this word, but it's nirvana-like experience. It's the samadhi. If you want to use the Vedic Sanskrit terms, it would be the samadhi or the nirvana-like experience, if you want to use that kind of a Eastern terminology. But in our Christian tradition, it simply means living in the Spirit, renewing your mind. And you can only get there by getting on the frequency of God. This is the modern kind of a scientific terminology. And you only need to do that, turn off your phone, turn off everything, and you have to be detoxified for a week. And then you'll be walking with God. Yet you'll be able to heal other people. More than likely, if that's your gift, if that's your thing, you might be able to get other gifts. There are many, many other gifts, folks. I mean, my gift happens to be healing, but that's just me. But you might get another. We all have different gifts, folks. It doesn't have to all to be healing. You might have some other gifts of prophecy. There are many other gifts that the Spirit will give you, but you cannot get it because you live in this filth, in this American filth that likes to kill people for a living. $50 million, $20 million there. Look at those invoices that they send to those contractors that kill people in Ukraine. It's unbelievable. That's death economy. We live in a death economy run by Satan. Look at those greedy eyes and that evil person in the White House that killed a lot of Syrian people in Syria by launching those missiles right before he left the White House during his first term. I'm not even discussing what he does now. It's insane. That's evil incarnate. Satanic human being. So our focus should be away from the news, away from politics, away from wars, which is very hard to do because it's all around us. And things are going to get worse because we live in the end times. We'll see more earthquakes, more volcanic eruptions. I'll tell you now so that you know. The same way I forecasted the war in Ukraine a year before it happened, the same I'm going to tell you, there will be a massive earthquake in the United States of America in the least expected place. It will be at the intersection of the state of Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri. There will be a massive earthquake that the Mississippi River will flow backwards. It will be a sign from God that we have arrived. And then immediately the Yellowstone will blow within 72 hours. Then you know we should seek shelter in the mountains. And you have to have some kind of plan B. And for that moment, you'll have to have enormous childlike faith to survive, because only angels of God will protect you. Your weapons won't be able to protect you. Your cleverness will not be able to protect you. At that point, you will, I hope, remember these words, and I hope you will listen to this message over and over and over again. You will hear these words from let's just say an angel of God who would want to whisper these words to you, but I'm going to tell you now what they say. Sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. I'll say it again so it will sink in. Sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment, because God doesn't want you to be smart. God wants you to be amazed and curious. God wants you to be childlike. Then he will send his angels to guard you, protect you, and your family members will be guarded, protected from all evil. So, on this note, I'd like to slowly conclude. I enjoyed sharing with you everything that you needed to hear. This was not by accident. You needed to hear these, everything that I mentioned in this live stream today. I will be doing it weekly to keep you abreast of everything that's going on in the world from Pastor Sam in Agape Ministries. Agape means what? It's a dialogue. Agape means the perfect unconditional love of God. It's a Greek word. That's all it means. Matera is a Greek word which means suspended in the air. It's a beautiful monastic community in Greece. But you can do the same thing in your living room, in your house, in your condo, in your apartment, or if you have too much going on, just go to Canada. Go to Catherine DeHook's special retreat community. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely community up there. I saw it on YouTube. I have, it's just beautiful. Called the Madonna House. Go there, call them. They'll embrace you. They'll let you grow in the spirit, and you'll meet God face to face up there. If you can't do it in your living room, if you cannot sort of shut yourself off for a week at least, or 40 days, preferably 40 days, but at least a week. If you cannot completely disconnect from your devices, from your relatives, friends, children, animals, obligations at work, take a vacation for a week, go up to Canada and do it there. You'll be richly blessed. You'll never forget. On this note, I want to say a prayer and do a benediction to bless you so you can go in peace. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to unite with all of our wonderful souls on this live stream podcast. Please send your angels to guard us and protect us all from all evil spirits, from all deception. Open our eyes, give us your wisdom so we may see the world as it is, but mainly we want to see it from your angle. We want to see the children of light. We want to read your word, and we don't want to be deceived by the evil one. Keep us safe, away from all evil. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. And I wish you all the best, folks. Keep safe. Dream big. Read the Bible. And please try to have childlike faith. Read John 14:12. Memorize it. Listen to this podcast over and over and over again. Why? Because the human brain can only sustain or retain about 1% of everything it hears. Unfortunately, it's not perfect. It's very, very bad at retaining data, information. And I'll share with you a few techniques how you can improve that up to 40%, 50% by training your left and right hemisphere. But until that point, may the force be with you. May God be with you. May his angels be with you. May you be surrounded by nothing but positive energy of God. Keep praying, keep fasting, filtered water in a glass jar, never plastic. Slice a few, 3 slices of lemon into a large jar, all glass, and keep it in the refrigerator. And then take it out in the morning and say your prayers over it. It's very important. Practice. It's been done for over 10,000 years that way for the initiated, for those who walk with God, those who are on the frequency of God. So may the power of God be with you. May you be richly blessed. May you find the path to the frequency of God. Take care. Love you all. May Agape Love be always with you. If you need me, I'm always with you in the spirit. Just write to me. eternitytoday@hotmail.com. And I will say a prayer. Just let me know what you need, what your needs are. If you want me to get on the phone, list your phone number, and I'll be happy to call you back and heal you or say a prayer for your healing or your loved ones. On this note, take care. Love you all. God bless you. See you at the very top.